Thank you very much for this kind presentation. And now I'd like to speak about diffusion imaging. And I have a question. Who works now with diffusion when they perform breast MRI? Not too much. So I will ask the question at the end of the presentation to see if it's changed a little bit. So let's speak about diffusion. So a few slides on theory. So as you probably know, the diffusion sequence is a sequence that measures the motion of the proton within the tissue. So for example here, so the sequence will tell you that the proton can move easily. So there is a free diffusion. That means there is a few cells and we are probably in a benign tissue. On this example, you can see that the proton cannot move easily. They are stuck by the cells around them. So that means that there are a lot of cells. So we are probably in a malignant tissue. So you see, this is a very simple idea. In homogeneous environment, the diffusion is governed by a probability distribution with a Gaussian form. The width of this curve is proportional to the diffusion coefficient. So when there is a free diffusion, the width will be very large, and in a restricted diffusion, the width is very narrow. How can we perform the diffusion? It's very easy actually. You need the sequence, an API sequence, and you will apply a gradient that cancels the signal of the moving proton. So if the proton cannot move, the signal remains, like here, and like in the tumor here, the protons are stuck, so they cannot move, so the signal remains. And when the proton moves, like this one, the gradient will cancel the signal of the moving proton. So like in the fibroglandular tissue here, the signal disappears, as you can see. So we have two kinds of image when you perform diffusion. You have the first image here with the very high gradient that cancels the signal, so with the B1000. And we need to perform an additional image, a quantification image. This is called the ADC. And for that, you will perform this simple calculation. So you measure the signal intensity without the gradient. You take the signal intensity with the gradient and you calculate the drop of the signal. So here in the fibroglandular tissue, you have a huge drop of the signal, here a huge drop. And within the tumor, you see that the signal cannot decrease a little bit. So with this drop, high drop, you can obtain an image with a high signal intensity. See the high signal intensity within the fibroglandular tissue. And in the tumor, there is a small drop, so a low signal intensity within the tumor. So you see we have two images, B1000 and ADC. So we'll see whether these two images are useful or not in your practice. So for the detection, this is a large breast cancer of the left breast, as you can see. We don't need diffusion to detect this lesion, of course. So do you see something else within this image? It's difficult. If I give you the diffusion shows you immediately that there is also a thoracic internal thoracic lymph nodes. What should we do when we have this kind of lymph nodes? It's really rare to have a single lymph node here, in only 5%. And in 95%, usually, you have another lymph node in the axillary area. So when you have a lymph node here, you need to find another lymph node in the axillary area. So this is a slice where there is a lymph node. Can you see it? It's quite difficult, actually. So I show you now the diffusion. And you see this is diffusion, and the diffusion shows you that this small stuff here is a lymph node. So diffusion is very useful for the detection. Diffusion will show you also normal lymph nodes. So you have always to come back to the morphological image to make sure this is a lymph node, a normal lymph node or pathological lymph node. But it's nice for the detection. What's about characterization? For example, here you have this mass. Okay, this is a round mass, circumscribed mass, homogeneous. Okay. So maybe by 3 or 4, don't know. Here is the diffusion, and you can see the ADC is 1.0. So we need threshold. we need threshold to distinguish benign and malignant lesion. So if you look at the literature, you can see there is a huge discrepancy between different studies. And if you try to do a median or mean, so you can see that usually the cutoff is around 1.1 or 1.3 between malignant and benign lesion. So if you try to see the different lesion, what you can find in the breast with the mean ADC according to the literature, and you put your threshold here, a 1.2 threshold. All the lesions with a lower ADC are supposed to be malignant and in this side of the graph, and all benign lesions are supposed to have a higher ADC, higher than 1.2, and are supposed to be here. And if you look at, there is many benign lesions with a lower ADC than 1.2, and you have a lot of cancer with a higher ADC than 1.2. So this is not perfect. And if you look at the literature, you can see that actually when you combine diffusion and contrast injection, you can see that the sensitivity is almost the same, but you improve slightly the specificity, which is a good idea, because you know our problem in MRI is just the specificity. Sensitivity is usually very good, but specificity is usually not very nice. It's around 75. So if you can improve that a little bit, it's good. What's about non-mass? This is a non-mass-like lesion. Okay, I perform diffusion, you can see 1.3. Okay, if you look at the literature says for non-mass, diffusion is not very great, because you can see with the diffusion combined to the regular MRI decrease the specificity. And as I told you, we need to increase the specificity, not to decrease it. So for non-mass, this is not very good. Except maybe with this paper, I'd like to show you, this is a study including 160 patients, and it was interesting because they didn't want to have a threshold between benign and malignant. It was something more interesting. They just include BioWatt 4 and BioWatt 5 lesion in their study, and they try to define a threshold that can help you to detect benign lesion. And they find that if you have a threshold, if you have an ADC at 1.8 or above 1.8, all the lesions are going to be benign. And I repeat, it was BioWatt 4 or BioWatt 3 lesion. So this is quite interesting. It's really rare to have an ADC above 1.8. Usually it's lower than that. So it won't help you a lot of time, but sometimes it could be useful. Another idea also, this is here an example of you probably have this example in your practice, a very small enhancement. It's not really a mass, not really a non-mass, it's not linear, you're not very sure what is it. And this is, it could be a DCIS, actually it was a DCIS. And if you look at this paper from Lima published in Radiology, you can see that there is a correlation between ADC and DCIS grad. And in low grad, you're supposed to have a higher ADC than in high grad DCIS. That means when you don't know what to do with this kind of enhancement, maybe if the ADC is very high, it could be a DCIS, but a low grad DCIS. So you have some time, you can maybe follow up that. However, if the diffusion is low, you have to perform a biopsy, even if it's very difficult because this lesion is very small. Some people try to define whether diffusion could predict the response of the neoadjuvant chemotherapy at the baseline. The first one who do that was Park in 2010, and they found that yes, actually, if the tumor, locally advanced breast cancer, have an ADC lower than 1.2 at baseline, so before to start the treatment, this cancer are supposed to have a complete response. The same year, another team, Woodham, say actually no, it doesn't work. So, but all this trial you see include a few patients. So we made the same study with more patients, and we found that you cannot distinguish the different response. The progress, as you can see, ADC was the same in progression, then partial response or complete response. There is no significant difference in within the three groups. However, we found something interesting. As you can see, the ADC was correlated with the grade of the lesion. The low-grade lesion had a lower ADC than the high-grade lesion. Same thing with the hormonal receptor. The tumor with a positive hormonal receptor had a lower ADC than the tumor with no receptor. And the same with the proliferative index. As you can see, the low proliferation index had a lower ADC than the high proliferation index. So this is the result of our study. As you can see, we try to classify the lesion according to this new classification. You probably know luminal A, luminal B, HR2, and basal lac. I remind you that luminal A is the tumor with positive hormonal receptor, no HR2 and low proliferation index. Luminal B has a positive receptor tumor with positive HR2 or high proliferation index. There is also the HR2 group with no hormonal receptor and HR2 positive receptor, and basal lac or TRP negative or receptor negative. Here is the result of the response, and as you can see, it's interesting to see that in the complete response group, most of them, half of them, were a TRP negative group. This is a terrible cancer, the TRP negative, but as you can see, 1/3 of them are going to have a complete response. In the progression disease, as you can see, there is a lot of TRP negative also, but the majority is the luminal A. So if you look at the ADC within the different group, you can see that luminal A and luminal B have lower ADC than the other group. HR2 are higher ADC, and basal lac have also higher ADC. So we were more interested by this group, basal lac, because there are more response, and we found that in this particular group, if the ADC is lower than 1.2 before the treatment, this group is going to have a complete response compared to the other one. Is diffusion useful after 2 cycles of chemotherapy for this locally advanced breast cancer? Actually, this is exactly like the PET scan. PET scan is very useful, as you know. After 2 cycles of chemotherapy, if the uptake disappears completely, this patient is going to have a complete response. And in diffusion, this is the same. Here you have the same patient, the tumor before treatment, after 2 cycles of chemotherapy, and so there is a good response, a good morphological response, and here this is the enhancement curve. You have the washout before treatment, and then you have the progressive enhancement. So the functional response is in agreement with the morphological response, and if you look at the diffusion, before treatment, ADC was quite low, 1.0, and after treatment, after 2 cycles of the treatment, you can see the ADC is higher, 1.5. That means the cells density decrease. There is less cells after treatment than before treatment, which is good. If you look at this another example, this same configuration, you have a large tumor before treatment. After 2 cycles of the treatment, the tumor shrink a little bit, so there is a morphological response, but as you can see, the enhancement is much higher than before, and the curves change. We start from a progressive curves, and then we have now a washout, which is not a good sign. And if you look at the diffusion, the images are poor quality, but it shows that the ADC don't change before and after treatment. So the cells density don't change, so this is not a good response. You can warn the clinician and say this patient is not going to have a good response. At the end of the treatment, diffusion is not useful because if the tumor completely disappears, you won't know where to put your region of interest. You will just measure some noise, so this is not very interesting. And if the tumor remains, you know already that this is not a good response. What are the limits and the perspective of the diffusion? So there is new sequence, as you probably know. For example, there is a reduced segmented HPI sequence, which decrease the T echo time, and it's allow you that to obtain very nice image like that with less distortion. And as you can, when you compare to the regular diffusion, this image is really better signal to noise, better contrast to noise ratio, and as you can see, less distortion. I remember you this curves I show you at the beginning of this lecture, and we pass quickly on this first hypothesis. We said in homogeneous environment, but how you probably know, we are not homogeneous. We have cells, we have fibrosis, we have a lot of things. So this theory doesn't work actually very well in a home body. Because we have cells, we have something, the distribution is not like a Gaussian, but like a peak, like that, the peak distribution. And there is a mathematical tools who can measure the deviation from a Gaussian distribution to a peak distribution like that. This is called the kurtosis. When your distribution is close from a Gaussian distribution, that means you're going to have a low kurtosis, k around 0, and when there is a huge deviation, that your kurtosis is going to be high, 2 or 3. So in benign tissue like this one, there is not too much cells, so we have seen that the diffusion will give you a free diffusion, so a high ADC, and for the kurtosis you can imagine that you're not homogeneous but almost homogeneous. So the deviation from a Gaussian curve will be very low. So you're going to have a low kurtosis, high ADC, low kurtosis. In cancer, this is completely different. You have a restricted diffusion, so the ADC is going to be low, but the kurtosis is going to be high because it's very heterogeneous. Last thing, as you know also, we have vessels. So in this normal tissue, we have few vessels. Diffusion can measure the motion of the proton. As you know, the blood moves, so we will have a signal from this moving proton within the vessels, gives a perfusion signal. And in normal tissue, we're going to have a free diffusion, so a high ADC, and a low perfusion signal. In malignant tissue, there is tons of vessels, so we are going to have a high perfusion signal. So if I try to summarize, you're going to have perfusion signal when you use small b value, b between 0 and 100. You're going to have diffusion with higher b value between 200 and 800, and you're going to have kurtosis signal, deviation I should say, if you use b value between 1000 and 3000. If you work with your regular MRI system, your system cannot take into account this perfusion signal and this kurtosis signal. So if you work with very low b value, you're going to have an overestimation of your ADC. And if you work with very high b value, you're going to have an underestimation of your ADC. To take into account this kurtosis and perfusion signal, you have to change your mathematical models and not use a mono-exponential but a b-exponential model. This is why when I show you this table at the beginning of this topic, we had a very huge discrepancy between ADC. As you can see, the author used different b value in their study. For example, Gu, here, use low b value, 0, and the high b value was 500. That gives you a threshold at 1.5. There is perfusion signal, so there is an overestimation here of this ADC. If you take another example here, 0 and 2000, there is kurtosis, so there is an underestimation of your ADC. So this is why they found only 0.9. So here you can understand why there is this discrepancy, because they don't take into account perfusion signal and kurtosis, and this explains why you have this discrepancy. So there is some new studies that try to take into account perfusion, and this is one example here, and they show that the theory is true. So in these studies they found that in cancer ADC was lower than in benign tissue and perfusion was higher. This is what you can see here with the same study. So you can see here the result in terms of ADC without any correction of perfusion and kurtosis. And here the diffusion with the correction for the perfusion. As you can see, there is a slight overestimation of the ADC without correction. If you take into account perfusion, so ADC 0 is lower, and you have also here the perfusion function. As you can see, the perfusion is higher in malignant tissues than in benign. Here, this is an example of kurtosis analysis. I show you here the fibroadenoma. This is ADC, so it's normal to have a high signal in ADC in the fibroadenoma. This is a benign tissue, so there is a free diffusion, so high ADC. And here, this is the kurtosis. It's almost homogeneous in this benign T lesion, so the kurtosis is quite low, it's dark signal. Here, this is a cancer. The cancer is a small round lesion here, so there is a low ADC signal, that's normal. And here you have the kurtosis, and in the kurtosis, the signal is quite high because there is it's very heterogeneous within this tumor. Same result here, you can see that in benign lesion, the diffusion is higher than in malignant lesion, and this is the kurtosis. Kurtosis is low in benign lesion and increase in malignant lesion. And finally, I'd like to show you this last study in which they try to combine everything, the perfusion, the ADC, and the kurtosis, and they found what theorists said. So in cancer, the diffusion is lower, kurtosis is higher, and perfusion is higher also. So in conclusion, I would like to tell you that you have to optimize your sequence. I didn't take a lot of time to explain that you have to reduce your echo time, to increase your bandwidth, etc., because it's a little bit boring, but it's very important. What I should say, diffusion is useful for the detection. It's very nice for the detection of lymph nodes, not for the tumor detection within the breast, but lymph node is very helpful. For the characterization, I'm not convinced for the mass or non-mass. Maybe this threshold of 1.8 could be useful for non-mass. Sometimes you have regional non-mass, you're not very sure what is it. So if you have very huge ADC above, higher than 1.8, you can say this is benign. For neoadjuvant chemotherapy response prediction, ADC could be useful in triple-negative tumor. And diffusion is useful after 2 cycles of chemotherapy. It gives you a functional response, which is very helpful sometimes. And take into account kurtosis and perfusion signal when you change your B value, because there is a lot of papers that show us that it's very interesting to increase the B value, like in prostate imaging using 2000 or 3000 B value. Be careful because you have this kurtosis signal. So thank you for your attention.